Carnage, #1, written by Torin Grönbeck, Perry Perez on art, colors by Eric Arcienega, and VC's Joe Sabino on letters. Because it's a #1, I will give you the little blurb on the credits page very quick. Carnage has fought his way across the multiverse as a symbiote without a host. He managed to rid himself of almost all the classic symbiote weaknesses and attain godlike power. Can it possibly be enough, or is it something someone's still missing to truly make him whole? If you ask any fans, that someone is Cletus Cassidy, and we're going to get Cletus Cassidy back in this issue. And Torin Grönbeck kind of came on the scene, in my mind, recollecting the deal, kind of got involved with Jason Aaron, ended up filling in for some of the Thor books, kind of a cool play that Torin means Thor, and so she ended up doing that. I'm not a real big fan. I think that she's decent enough, but nothing has really excited me. Recently, it seems that she's taken over that side deal with Al Ewing, her and Al Ewing going through the Venom book. So having her on Carnage is kind of a weird play of like she is following a bit in the Ram V footsteps. That was all that stuff before. This probably at one point would have been something Ram V would have continued on with, but is now exclusive at DC. So have you read any Torin Grönbeck?
No, I was going to ask you, like, whether, is she any good? I knew she'd done Thor and done a bit of Venom. Yeah.
Yeah, and does like the Realm of X, I believe, of the X-Men stuff, but I'm not reading the X-Men. I think that she is capable. You get issues, but nothing ever really excites me that I've read. And that's kind of what I think of this. You end up having a Carnage #1. I don't know what I was expecting, actually, because of all the things they've done, even with the Venom stuff, even with the Carnage stuff, and the idea that I think most people want a classic Carnage back. It seems like we might be getting towards that. I don't know if it's exactly here, but it plays off here as like a horror comic, but yet I never really got scared. Now, I get scared about everything. I'm not saying that I have to poop my pants here or anything, but, it never really felt like, all right, this is crazy. Oh, my God, this is really horrific. It really plays off where it's overly narrated in my mind, which actually kind of pulls me out a bit. I can't really get into the tension and what's going on when it is so narrated. And usually when you have a symbiote book, you will have that back and forth with the character, the host, the other, all that. You don't even really get that. It's mostly just this narration that tries to be a bit fancy at points, but then really just, like I said, it pulls me out a bit because we start off where, oh my God, Carnage is pretty much a god, but isn't satisfied with that. You go to Omnipotent City, and Carnage is looking for answers from the god librarian, the all-knowing god librarian. And this scene, again, it's kind of a cool play, but it just kind of happens. And you end up where Carnage wants to know, what am I? What do I need to do? What's going on? And the librarian actually even starts, what's your purpose? If you're a god, you have to be worshipped by people. You have to have a purpose. That kind of sets up later where me and you say that you got kind of a biblical type story going on, but we couldn't quite grab onto it.
That's right. Yeah, I couldn't grab onto this at all, Jim. I must admit, I was quite excited by this opening, this library. It was pretty cool, and then it doesn't seem to really go anywhere, does it? There's not much set up here.
Yeah, that's the problem. And so the big play, it really feels like you have Carnage, the god who wept because there was nobody left to carnage up. Like, he needs to set up, like, if I'm a god, I have to really be a god. So what do I need? Well, the one thing that I seem to be missing is Cletus Cassidy, to give me some purpose, to give me some footing, to get towards the end goal of being a god who's worth. It's very odd, but you end up having this librarian who, again, you have some cool things going on, like these Centaurians, they're fighting off. But again, does it not look at the point where it looks like Jesus getting stabbed by the Romans with spears? I mean, you end up having these biblical references that I think they're a little too subtle, but they also just don't really play out in my mind. But you end up having that where Carnage gets sent away through a black hole from the staff of the librarian, and he seemingly ends up, well, he does, in Riker's prison, back to where it all began, and he eats a prisoner. Looks like he just bites his head off, right? Half of his head. That's kind of horrific, I guess. And then throws up Cletus Cassidy because he needs this biomaterial to remake Cletus that's in the Codex. Boom. And then away we go with Cletus as, Carnage, but you never really get that full Carnage feel. It's more Cletus here. And pretty much he just goes around killing people in a weird biblical manner at points, but not quite. Like you said, we were talking about this and going through like, okay, at one point, he is actually targeting and killing people that are the disciples. You end up having names, John, Matthew, but then that changes. Then he's in a diner where he's talking to this girl. And even the case where, hey, what's your name? Sarah. I'm like, let's go full out. If you're going to like maybe marry, maybe have some sort of bit. But this girl is listening to some true crime. But this scene feels like it's separate, even though there's Cletus. He's going through the Bible. He's making his Carnage marks in there and things like that. Talking to this girl a tiny bit about the Bible. Brings up some stuff, the true crime. She's like, things get a little mixed up. The only thing that I can say that I was excited about in this issue, though, is we do get Flash Thompson, who I love. I wish this was a Flash Thompson book. I wish that we actually brought him back, anti-venom, all that. But instead, he's just in the side deal where he senses that something has returned, something has gone wrong, and he is going to be the person who seemingly is chasing down, Cletus and Carnage. And you get his sad sack life. I felt bad for him, where even then he's, there he is, security. He shows up for work. I love Flash. He's like, hey, boss, sorry I'm late. He's like, I didn't notice, you jerk. And I'm like, what a sad sack Flash is. They don't even know if he's showed up for work on time. And then he goes and drinks and gets in a barroom fight. There's not really much of him.
He was getting some grief, wasn't he, Jim, from that boss as well? Like, she wasn't happy. I didn't like the way she was treating him, I got to say that.
I didn't get that, because he's there, he's drinking, he's having a conversation, and then these guys start fighting, and the one guy calls her a name, and Flash freaks out and nails him against the wall, and then she's yelling, he's going to sue you, get the hell out.
Stop it, Flash. Yeah, she's angry at him.
Yeah, I was like, get out of there, Flash. You don't need this crap. But through this, you end up again, Cletus is going around, and it's played off as that, hey, creepy Cletus back in town. He's going to kill people, but we don't know them. At a point, like you said, it just feels like a name.
It's just random, John. Isn't it? Yeah, we don't know them. We don't know why.
Yeah, where's Ringo and George? Exactly. I mean, that's what we need. So then my score would have went up. But the idea of, really, I should have hit that. You end up where this then leads to where Cletus then goes to this kid who ended up killing a bunch of people because he needed his life to mean something. And he ends up killing him. But that kid doesn't quite have the biblical name type deal that we were setting up. Philip, but he ends up...
Hello, Philip.
And I'm like, okay, he takes him down. He actually says, hold my hand here, we'll pray. Are you a God-fearing guy? Have you found the Lord? Yeah, I'm getting there. All right, well, let's pray. And as you're doing it, you see, the symbiote come from his back, and he ends up killing him. But as he's being killed, he is marking the deal down. He's like, hey, this guy's number 11. You went, down the line here. And even then, like, you're getting the 12 disciples, but it's kind of veered off like a path here. But you end up where the big play then at the end is to go after what appears to be like an Elon Musk. You even said. I said it's Melon-usk is what we have going on here. Nathaniel Jones, which is weird because was an amalgam character back in the day in the Magneto and the Metal Men book, but I don't think that's a connection, though it'd be crazy if this was like the redo introduction of the amalgam universe. I'd be all into that. But this guy, again, you don't really know these characters. You don't really know why you should care. You're just actually just watching Cletus just walk around randomly and say, hey, I'm going to kill this guy. You even have that background. The first guy he kills is, besides that prisoner, is this play of, oh, this guy was in the war. All of his friends are dead. He's too much of a chicken to kill himself. I'm like, okay, just let's go. And so then Cletus, this is the best though. Cletus goes, and now all of a sudden, instead of just killing people, he needs to make a spectacle of this Nathaniel, who's a billionaire. He's the tech guy. You don't really know this until, you kind of figure it out through
just
how
get
people
told,
even react.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is you're being told.
Yeah.
And he's put in a David Blaine-like chamber, outside of probably his big, place where they sell all the phones and all these things that he's known for. You see a big 5G behind there. But even then, you have all this weird Carnage writing on this clear container where, like I said, it looks like you're going to be mind freaked. Chris Angel's going to show up. He's going to be doing card tricks. And then you have David Blaine who's going to sleep on ice for 3 years. So you end up where this guy's like, please help me, help me. They're going by now. You end up seeing this guy who you recognize as the Elon Musk guy here. And you're like, oh, look at that. What kind of stunt's this? The guy is bare-chested. He has a 12 carved into his chest. And he's got a bunch of crazy writing in this clear deal. You should know something's wrong. Like, this seems like a very weird publicity stunt or something
they just
for
start
promotion.
Filming you, don't they, with the phones, and then finally, oh, maybe we should help him.
I love where they're like, oh my God, we should help him, as everybody is liking.
Yeah, getting all these hearts on this scene.
I know you're going to play with, and somebody would say, well, Carnage is a god, but what kind? Because when did he set this up? Like, the idea that they are in, like, downtown New York City, looks like in Manhattan, and he has set up a clear container with one of the richest, most, seemingly known men in the world inside with a bunch of scribbling and a big tarp over it. When did he do this? When did Carnage Cletus go and say, okay, well, I'm going to set up this container first. Now I'm going to transfer this guy there. It's so weird that you just have it there. And then they're like, oh, man, it's great. And then he's boiling to death and drowns and he's dead. And everybody's
it's weird,
like,
isn't it, Jim? You're saying here the people watching, they don't understand that they're watching worship. But how is this like related to worshiping Carnage? Is it because he's causing carnage? So that means, they're watching it. And
they're worshiping just the Carnage.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you get where people are liking it. They're down. And is he now here again? We're playing at one point. You do have some social media part, you have a page of that, then you're being told about the podcast, the true crime. Is this like the play in that weird way in the background of that's how he realized? Because even then, when Cletus comes back, he ends up saying, ooh, he has to catch up with the like he's really seems interested. Like, this is where it's going to end up, is how you can get worship is because people are pieces of crap and they tend to veer towards really bad things, like the girl listening true crime. You are listening to murders and
tales of death and mayhem.
I think that Torrin Grumbach, and I didn't even think this before you kind of hit that deal, the light bulb went off, that it is that play of, ooh, this is the time for me now. Everybody's hateful. Everybody loves just misery. And if you end up killing somebody online, streaming it, they don't even care. They're liking it. And that'll be how he's worshipped, and that's what we get to. I don't know that I need that from a Carnage deal.
Cancel culture gone like to the nth degree or something, isn't it? It's like,
Carnage
becoming
culture.
Death, Carnage culture.
Can we call that? I even said to you as a joke that you could end up using the Carnage symbol as an @ in like an on. I think that might happen. I'm telling you, Carnage culture. It's weird though, because you end up starting this, and it's a little too subtle. But then it's too over the top with the narration. You don't really feel like you're being let to get involved with the story. You're being told stuff. And so by the end, the art's okay. Flash at the end, when he hears this and sees what's going on with this Nathaniel Jones, he ends up anti-venoming up and starts trying to get there. And that's where you do see is where the one girl, like Flash looks at his phone and he sees this Nathaniel, burning up / we didn't know if it was acid, boiling water, but they say he's boiling. Very odd. Boiling, we thought it was acid. But as you see, there's tons of hearts. Everybody's liking it as this guy. And again, you're going to play the idea, oh, I don't like him. Again, Elon Musk, a very divisive guy. So what the play there is. But in that, I just want more Flash. Like, Flash is running to try to stop this. He's not going to be able to. The guy's dead. But that's the interesting point, that at least I get some Flash. Let's see what's going on. But the idea of having a Carnage / Cletus Cassidy who wants people to worship him in an online way, not that interested. I'm really not that interested. But we'll continue. It may be that. It may be something different. It may swerve. But it didn't have a spark this first issue. It didn't really get me going like, oh my God, because I'm not I should have said at the beginning, I think you and me both, we haven't read a lot of Carnage stuff.
No, we haven't.
I'm not a huge Carnage fan. So I wonder if Carnage fans like this because at least Cletus, hey, he's back, or if this is one of those that, might be a little off of them because I just didn't feel that excited or, really like, oh my God, I got to keep reading this. I will, but it's not like I'm going to rush out. No, I got to put this on my pull list. This will be the first book I read. It's not quite like that. But what would you give it?
I'm the same as you, Jim, and it was 33 pages and it felt it. It was one of those where I was looking at the page count, weren't you?
That's the problem with narration like that. If you have narration in every panel, it starts to become a slog because you're being told things, not able to kind of, get into it fully. But that is a problem.
It lacked the spark. It lacked the excitement. It lacked even, as you say, the horror, the scary moments. There's not really much in it. So I'm sorry. I'm going to give this a very average 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little more positive because I did like the art. I'm probably being way too positive for what I think. But again, I'm running scared. So I'm going to give it a 6. I'm just going to give it a 6 because it's a number 1. As we talked about it, there's some intriguing things maybe. But that's the problem. I don't know if they're actually really there. Are we making up things to try to be excited about it? Or are the things really there? I don't know. We'll have to see. But
I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just giving it, a straight, like just an average like 50-50.
I'm with you. It's just one of those where you could go up or down either way as it continues. Hopefully it does get better. Hopefully there's more flesh. Hopefully there's more explain in this, but as a number 1, I think that it might have wanted to come out of the gates a little stronger.
Definitely.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.